I was fighting for that 12-year-old girl who looked up to her dad and who wanted to follow in his footsteps. I was fighting for Bill and, God forbid, Steve and everybody else who works here, or everybody that might work here in the future, like Hallie.
I think we just need to go inside.
I know about Leslie.
She's just a power-hungry bureaucrat. Okay? Look, babe, this is silly.
I'm really glad you popped in to see me, actually. Because now I can tell you how we're going to save Siding Spring. And there is nothing you or your little sweetheart Leslie can do about it.
A few years ago, a series called Under the Milky Way was filmed in Coonabarabran. It was aired in a few different places and also made public online. Now it's been reworked into a movie. Director Shane Dunlop and lead actress Lee McClanahan, who you just heard from there, join us. Good morning to you both.
Oh, good morning, Julie.
Good morning. How are you?
Great, we're great. Thank you.
Fantastic. Hey, before we get to you, Lee, to hear a little bit more about that character, because there was a lot of passion in what we just heard there. Let's talk, Shane. Just give people a little bit of a synopsis who perhaps missed the series Under the Milky Way. What exactly is it about?
So in a nutshell, it's about, I guess, a fictional version of a real place that exists in Coonabarabran called the Siding Spring Observatory. It's an amazing place in Australia's astronomical landscape, but it's a fictional version of that place. It's being shut down by the local town, and the people who work there are sort of basically spend the film or the series trying to get the town rallied behind them to save it, because it's an important part of that town's history.
Where did this idea come from?
That's a good question. I think I just I've always been into space and astronomy and those sorts of things, and obviously loved things like The Dish, and the previous things I'd done had that sort of similar Australian kind of small town regional feel to them. And once I had done a little bit of research and kind of worked out where some of the observatories, the major observatories were in the country, this one really stood out. I mean, I'm not sure if you've ever seen any of Siding Spring, but it is so amazing, and I'm just surprised that more people don't know about it. Obviously, we had the the ABC, BBC I think it was called Stargazing.
Yes, it was. Earlier this year.
Yeah, and that was amazing because I suppose it brought that particular part of the country to more and more people's consciousness. But once I saw it, I just thought, well, I've got to write a story about this place, and that's where it kind of sprung from.
How was it filming there?
It was amazing. Honestly, I just don't know if the series would have been half as good if it wasn't for that place. We had seen photos of it, and we turned up, and we instantly had a breath taken away. And then on top of that, the people who work there, who had no real reason to, other than, I guess, to spice up their day, gave us an amazing amount of access into all these rooms, and we were basically turning up to set each day, and they would say, what kind of room would you like to look at today, and what kind of would you like to go and look at this one, and how about this? And we were being led into these spaces and places inside that facility that your money couldn't buy access to. And then we had amazing sunsets, and it was just a dream to film up on that mountain. Yeah,
wow, wonderful. We'll talk more about then turning it into a single movie, but let's now bring Lee into the conversation. Lee, we heard from you there, and as I said, quite a passionate piece that we played there. Tell me more about your character.
Yeah, so I played Helene Mackenzie, and her dad was the original developer, the one that opened Siding Spring in the story. And so she's up on the hill managing this observatory with a lot of interesting, crazy characters around her. And it's just her fight to win over the town, I suppose, and make them realise what an awesome thing they've got up on the hill. How was filming for you? Oh, it was incredible. Like, as Shane said, the location itself is just brilliant. The staff were awesome. Like, one day we were standing on top of a... How tall was that, Shane? Like, it was 6 floors to the bottom of the
major
telescope.
dome, the Anglo-Australian Observatory dome. I couldn't tell you how many stories it is, but it's huge.
You're just standing on top of that. Like, they let us go on the roof.
Yeah.
And it's just phenomenal. Was it Kristen and Doug?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. For you, Lee, from your perspective, what do you think it is about this story that gives it this enduring appeal?
I think it's like a lot of things. Things that are very important to our culture, to people, to our history, are being shut down, and it's the fight of the little people to keep them open, and I think that appeals to most people, hopefully.
Would you agree with that, Shane?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately that's kind of what it's about in that as we sort of, I don't know what the right way of explaining would be, but as we kind of globalise, or as things become less about, regional Australia or localism, we lose some of those things, or the focus goes away from some of those things that are the heart and soul of particular places. And that's certainly, I guess, an undercurrent of the film, is that this is something that the people in the town have forgotten is important, and have forgotten is beautiful, and have forgotten its history, and then they are reminded of that throughout the course of the film, and so I think that's kind of the message. Yeah.
And how difficult was it then to turn it from a multi-part show into a single movie, Shane?
It was really hard because obviously the original intention was for it to be a 6-part TV series, and that's how it originally aired. And so you have, I guess, from a narrative perspective, you end up trying to tell 6 individual stories that tell one overall story, and then you are going through the process of removing those individual stories to a degree to boil it down to the original intended overarching story. And there are the occasional challenges that were presented in that, but we managed to get it done, and I think, if anything, it probably is in its best form as a film. We kind of, I guess, in some ways, were able to remove some of the fat, so to speak, story-wise.
Yeah, okay. It's trimming the fat. I like
that. Yeah.
Where can people see this? What's happening with the release, Shane?
Yeah, so we're partnered with FanForce Films, which are a distributor that allow, I guess, small and independent films to be able to be shown in cinemas across the country. And we have started with 2 sessions, a session in Tamworth on the 6th of December, and a session at Narrabri's Cross Theatre on the 11th of December. And so how people can, I guess, get along, because it's a little bit different. You can't go to the theatre themselves and buy the ticket. You have to go to FanForce, so that's fanforce.com.au. Search for Under the Milky Way, and that'll come up with the sessions that are available. And essentially how it works is, if we're able to if there's interest and if there's enough tickets sold, then the sessions go ahead, and on top of that, more sessions are added based on, I guess, demand and interest. And we're also taking it to places like Gunnedah and Coonabarabran and other places in that general region, because that's where we shot the show, and a lot of those towns are, if not seen in the show, are definitely name-checked.
Yeah, fantastic. Hey, great to talk with you both this morning. Thank you so much for your time, and best of luck with the release of Under the Milky Way as a film.
Yeah, thanks, Julie.
Thank you.
That is Shane Dunlop, director of Under the Milky Way, and Lee McClenaghan. She is the lead actor in what's now a movie that was a series. I wonder whether you caught it. Filmed in Coonabarabran. It is 29 to 10 ABC Central West.